let's come to a very big story. African-wide, a good year 2021 was for private capital investments in Africa, despite the various downsides to the global virus pandemic. 2 days ago, the African Private Equity and Venture Capital Association announced the release of its 2021 annual activity report, which provides deep insight into investments and exits on the continent, as well as the distribution and value of deals across sectors and regions. So joining me now to deep dive into that new report is the head of research at Avca, Coulibally. Great having you on the show tonight from London. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. What did this report reveal about the resilience and attraction of the African market in 2021 despite the global virus pandemic environment?
Yes, that's a good question. As Avca is organizing the annual conference on Monday, so we'll be discussing and having a deep conversation around the future of the private capital in Africa, so next Monday in Dakar. So yes, 2021 was a record-breaking year that exceeded all expectation regarding the growth of Africa private capital industry, both in terms of fundraising and investment activity. So the total value of African private capital fundraising grew 4 times the level of 2020, reaching a record high of 4.4 billion. And this resurgence of this fundraising was driven by the fast rise of infrastructure and growth fund on the continent. And in terms of investment activity, 7.4 billion have been invested, which equate to more than twice the 2020's level. And the accumulation of unspent capital pre-COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with the COVID-19 activity hiatus, resulted in fund manager increased appetite to deploy capital to work across the continent. So consequently, we can say that this remarkable increase of investment activity in 2020 can be considered as a result of the accelerated pace of capital deployment by fund manager in the post-COVID era.
Very interesting. The next question, I'm sure you can guess, is why are venture capitalists increasing their stakes in Africa despite challenges? We talk about currency depreciation, weakness across local currencies. There's FX liquidity crunch in certain countries. It's a little bit difficult to repatriate your capital in FX terms. So despite all these challenges, why are they still interested in coming through to the African market space?
Yes, good question. So yes, although these challenges, which are often linked to currency depreciation, as you mentioned, venture capitalists balance any short-term challenges against the long-term growth potential for the continent. As such, they increased their stake in African business in 2021. Africa is the continent with the highest entrepreneurship rate in the world, according to ADB, so African Development Bank, and as such, it has turned out to be a pole of attraction, I would say, for a growing number of local and also global funds from United States, Europe, and Asia. So in 2021, venture capitalists put more money to work in Africa than the preceding 7 years combined. So 5.2 billion was raised from 604 companies, and the data revealed that the industry has achieved an impressive growth despite all the challenges. Yes.
Again, if we begin to break it down sector by sector, region by region, let's start with the regions before we go to the sectors. The numbers look like West Africa is still leading the rest of the continent, North, East, West, and South, when you talk about venture capitals moving into the continent. What makes West Africa that destination, the number one destination?
Okay, so the first reason has been the increasing activity in venture capital in Nigeria specifically, so the largest economy on the continent, and also specifically in fintech. So in fintech and in Nigeria, we have seen an incredible number of deals and also the value of the deal attracted in this region. So West Africa accounted for 33% of the total volume of activity during the year. So yes, that's
Okay, yes. So that's West Africa. So if you go down a little bit and begin to show the breakdown, this is Southern Africa coming in at 20% and North Africa at 17%. Outside West Africa, where else are you seeing a very strong inroads of venture capitals looking to buy into the great entrepreneurial activities going on the continent?
Yes, this I would say like the financial sectors was one of the main factors and contributors as have been the most active sector by volume and attractive a large share of deal as well. And the rise of fintech specifically contribute to the sector receiving the largest share of deals. And we know with several traditional bank closing during the pandemic, and many people turning to mobile money, digital banking, and etc., and remittance to help their families' livelihood and financial good. This has contributed to the dynamism in this sector specifically.
Okay, but again, if you go sectors a little bit, we're seeing things happening in the consumer discretionary goods, for example, and a few others. What are folks buying in? Industrials, infotech, of course, number one, financials, yes, and fintech. What about utilities and consumer discretionary with the level of discretionary income that are very tight across a number of African frontiers?
Yes, sorry. Sorry, can you repeat your last sentence or question? Sorry.
Yes, we talked about digital transformation, infotech, and fintech sectors. But when you look at utilities and consumer discretionary goods sector as well, it looks like folks who are still venture capitalists, private equity folks are still interested, despite the fact that consumers in Africa are squeezed.
Yes, it's squeezed, but I would say it's relatively compared to the others, the main sector that we cited before. But it didn't decrease. It's just an effect of who is leading, I would say, the force in the generally, I would say, but we didn't see any decrease specifically in utilities. On the contrary, but we can discuss it later on the infrastructure, the raise of the infrastructure investment, notably in utilities and renewable energy and so on, yes.
Okay, so we've seen billions of dollars coming through from outside onto the continent. What about cross-border investment, private equity, between East Africa, within East Africa itself, perhaps within Kenya and Congo DR, for example, in Central Africa, within the Southern Africa space, within West Africa. Are we seeing some of these things happening within the Africa space itself, in which we're putting our money where our mouth is and our mouth where our money is?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we've seen an increase, a growing trend, I would say, on the multi-region deals as they, attracted, I would say, a large share of deal value in the continent in 2021, accounting for 35%. And a notable example that we can cite in terms of large multi-region investment was the 200 million Series A investment round in Andela, notably, which is the global network for remote engineering talent and operate in West, East, Southern, and North Africa. And we expect to see an increase of this type of investment as cross-border collaboration will further be encouraged, as we know, with the African Continent Free Trade Area, which leverage regional value change and encourage greater, I would say, capital flow across Africa. Yes, by removing all the trades.
I'm sure, Nadia, I'm sure you folks are going to have a whole lot to talk about at your annual meeting. So you're going to give me a sneak preview of that. What trend are you seeing so far in 2022? We're done with the first quarter. We're now about 1 month into the second quarter. Give me a heads up on tomorrow's conference and what your outlook is for the new year currently on the way.
Yeah, so even if it's too soon to predict whether the investment activity in 2022 will exceed the record high in 2021 or no, we are quite optimistic based on the trend on fundraising. As we said, we've achieved a high record in 2021. So this capital will need to be deployed. So this is the first thing. The second thing, we also achieved in terms of interim close in 2021, we already achieved 50% of the total fund close the same here. So this fund will need to be deployed as we know, as they just raised. So additionally, there is an increasing number of international fund managers who make investment in Africa business through fund with a global investment mandate, and the evolution of Africa private landscape into a diverse investment scene. Let's say Africa-focused fund, emerging market, and global market advocates, how we believe that the investment activity in 2022 and beyond will follow similar, even more positive trajectory.
Well, Nadia, we're going to chat after your conference and all of that. You bring us up to speed, as it were. Thank you so much. We appreciate those perspectives and insight into your new report at the African Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. Have a great evening in London.